Welcome to Fantasy Inception. This is the last episode of this season. I am your host, Josh Grossman. With me, as always, Ed and Rush, Jeff Hahn.
What's
How
up?
are you guys doing?
Feeling good.
Yeah,
400 bones richer. 450 bones richer.
there you go.
I'm flush with cash, homie.
We need
Maybe you
to
should
up
pay that heating bill.
Yeah. It's cold out here.
Well,
I'm doing good. Not as good as Geoff.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I feel you. It was a good season. A lot of good weeks. Fender again fails and has not won the championship. We'll see how many
Been
wins we had
there.
with
Know the
that.
feeling.
Jeff, congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
I don't know if you guys want to
Congrats.
spend any time on that, or should we just skip over that?
I mean, I'll take an apology from either of you any day now. I mean, I'm still waiting.
What would we be apologizing for?
I'm pretty sure I picked you like every single week for the most
No,
part.
but just the constant, seems to be pretty lucky,
You were.
doesn't score 150 points
I was-
like ever. So I did it. I think I was like the point leader for the last 2 weeks, if I'm
I
not
know,
mistaken, out of everybody, including yourself, Mr. Grossman.
I know.
So-
I was watching those.
I think I put up a lot of points.
Landon, stop.
I
You're
had
not even involved.
I had
Get out of this.
Look, it always. We've asked each of the guests recently what percent chance is it of winning a championship. I'm sorry, luck versus skill. What is it? What's that sort of breakdown? I don't think I've gotten an answer from you guys, so I'd be curious. What do you guys think in terms of getting a championship? What is the ratio of skill to luck that you need? Landon.
70% skill.
Okay. Jeff?
I certainly think there's luck involved, but I'd say it's more like 80, 20, 90, 10, somewhere in that range. Like, I don't think it's. Yeah, I mean,
You have to have your players stay healthy.
your players have to stay healthy, right? But I mean, as a manager, you can kind of do things to stay on top of that. You can be ahead of it, I guess, right? So that's where the skill aspect comes into a little bit more
Definitely
play.
a lot of skill. I think landing the 70-30 is probably where it is. You're not going to win just on luck alone. You need to be skillful, but at a certain point, you need to have some luck on your side as well. But you did really well.
100%.
I was never.
There's no way Chris Rolex is winning a championship this year.
That we can say that every year. All right, let's get to it. So we're gonna do 3 takeaways each for the 2021 season. Something hopefully that you guys that are listening.
I wanted to do this. I got to interrupt. I'm sorry,
Sure.
but obviously won the regular season and then won the playoffs.
This is just bragging.
No,
You
it's not.
interrupted me to just
I was going to. Yeah, it's
What a dick.
humble brag. I was going to bring out my briefcase and open it up and show you what $450
Right, in
bills
pennies.
look like. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. But what I realized is, we got to talk about upping the cost of this league
I
because
agree. Big time.
for the amount of effort put in for 18 weeks, or I guess 17 weeks, and and you break that down to maybe
right.
the cost per hour, you're not even getting
Yeah.
$5 an hour type of thing. You know what I mean? It's
I know.
ridiculous.
But it's also not. I mean, I totally agree, 100%. It should be higher. It also is not a I don't do this because to get paid. I enjoy it.
No, I don't either.
I wouldn't
Agreed,
wanna-
but-
I do it for the
wouldn't,
titles.
I wouldn't care about the league if there wasn't money involved. But
It would be nice
But,
if you
yeah.
did win to
right, actually get
something for a little.
Yeah, the other
chunk.
league I'm in is
Well, something for the
175
efforts.
each.
Yeah.
And I think the winner gets 800. That feels nice. So
Oh,
Yeah, my other-
anyway,
my other
we're gonna
leagues-
do 3. Is that what you wanted to say? That's just where
that was my
takeaway?
soapbox.
That was your
Yeah, I
takeaway?
guess. Yeah.
We all.
we're gonna
It's
do
just
3.
Walter.
I know
I
it
think.
really is.
He doesn't watch. He doesn't watch anyways. So
3 takeaways each for this season, and then I have a bunch of sort of comparison players, and I'm curious to get your take on who would you spend more on come draft season next year. So it should be a shorter episode, but hopefully we have some good takeaways. We'll go, each of us does one, and then we'll go around again. So Landon, you seemed pretty excited about your takeaways. Do you want to give us one of yours to start us off?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about excited.
You were very excited.
As it's bashing myself for the most part, but lesson number one for me is not the draft. What I've done this year and last year, about briefly, is spending a lot of money on a running back that is pretty much in a for the most part, and you're kind of paying potential ceiling might be, and it seems that I have kind of struck out.
Talking about a Mr. Chubb.
But Chubb is not an
Chubb's not horrible. What the bring up, and I think I have him in this league, and I'm pretty sure we all have him in other. Antonio Gibson this year, which now he isn't the biggest. He's not a big bust, which is shocking, but I mean he had some really big weeks. He's currently the 12 in our league through this year, so that's not a bust by any means.
Outperformed Swift, didn't he?
Yeah, but Swift missed like 4 games.
Swift missed some games, and then
I'm just saying, so did Gibson.
That's true, but yeah, I mean he's not the biggest bust, but I paid $45 for him, which
that's
because of the off-season hype.
There was a hype train. There was
big hype train with him that
he was supposed to get McCaffrey volume.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I think there was a backup quarterback that said he's going to be used like CM here, and it's like holy shit. I mean, he was a wide receiver in college. Just imagine if he starts catching the ball. I mean, it could be a top 5 back. But you have to kind of read the room, I guess. And J.D. McKissick is still there, and he caught 80 balls last year, and he's not really going anywhere.
IR.
And besides IR towards the end of the year, but hitting on the ceiling that is completely unknown. And for example, now this is, you don't know how it would work out if I to a bidding war with someone, but nonetheless, Jonathan Taylor was 46. So $1 more, I could have possibly had Jonathan Taylor, who, obviously is the greatest running back of all time at this point. Proven situation that he proved himself last year and the potential to grow. Eckler was $2 less than Najee was $6 less. That even though he was unproven, he was going into a situation knew he was going to be used how Pittsburgh has used running backs in the past. And then Joe Mixon for $9 less. That writing was on the wall that Gio was gone, and the coaches were talking about how they were going to use Joe Mixon. So money could have been somewhere else. And I did this last with Clyde Edwards, which I paid $56 fucking dollars last year, which, who also went for $56 last year was Derek fucking Henry, and Alvin Kamara went for $50. So I have an issue with the hype train. I need to calm it down a little bit and maybe go with more proven running backs in better situations.
I think part of that, this is a thought or something to be aware of maybe, is when you get into those drafts and it gets late and you start to see running backs fly off the board, all of a sudden the price of the remaining top tier guys, or what you identify as maybe a top tier guy, is only going to be elevated, right? Because now they realize, hey, I need to get one of these guys, and that's only going to continue to increase the price that late. So maybe trying to secure a top running back early if you can, even if you have to overspend, but have like a guy in mind that you want to get. That's how I went into this year's draft with Jonathan Taylor, knowing that I wanted to get him on my team. It might be something to consider as an approach, as opposed to, panicking, getting in that spot where you realize, hey, there's only 3 guys on the board that I'm willing to take on my team. I need to get one of these. Now, all of a sudden, all of their prices are going to be suffering from a little bit of inflation.
So I will tell you 2 things. One, Landon, I think I agree with what you're saying. I've sort of shifted towards, at least for this last year, I got Najee and Swift because I wasn't willing to spend up on running backs, mainly because of the injury concern. But I also think, one, you can pick and choose. Like Eckler, there was some of the same types of questions about he wasn't ever, the primary running back. Was he going to get the goal line carries? And then 2, to what Jeff is saying, not only are you at the end of the running back sort of tier, you're going to be pushed to get more, but at the onset, you don't know what those players are going for. So if Gibson is the first out of, before Taylor, before any of those other players, you're just going based on, well, there's 5 running backs that have all been chosen for $60, $70, 46 sounds really good. And then only after that are you seeing that someone else is able to get Jonathan Taylor for
Joe Mixon
price,
for $9 cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, when Walter got Mixon, I thought the same thing of like, I would have rather had Mixon for cheaper, so it's hard. What I did this year worked out is I broke my players down into tiers, and then one projected out what I thought those guys were going to go for and kept track of them during the draft. And then I didn't want to get the last of player of a tier because they usually go for higher. And so when it was down to like 2 or 3 of the running back or receiver at that of those bigger tiers, that's when I would try to get in. And sort of that's it worked out well. But it's hard. Okay, Jeff, what is one of your takeaways?
Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to, I guess, carry on. Maybe, I don't want to say carry on, it's the wrong way, but as long as maybe Landon went, but just, it's a big takeaway for me. It's having fab money left over. And obviously circumstances change depending on where you are in the season. Injuries can ultimately leave you to spending a lot of your fab money. But me, who I was kind of sitting at the top for majority of the season, it would have been nice having some fab money going into the playoffs, right? Even though it's 2 weeks, even if I just had $5 or whatever, to try to get some of those players out there that I missed out on that really could have cost me a chance at a championship. I know Moreau had a really nice pickup of getting Rojo right early on in the playoffs, and then Fender had a nice pickup as well of somebody who I can't recall off the top of my head, but
Eckler's back.
Somebody, yeah, well, that was the first week. It was the second week, though, that there was somebody out there, I thought, in our championship matchup. But, yeah, Patterson. He did have Jackson. That was a nice one, too. And who was that?
Patterson?
Yes. Yeah, that was the person that I was most worried about him picking up. And because I didn't have any free agent money. Actually, I texted you about that. He had a decent game, 13 points. But I certainly would have, liked to have had that, at the very least, blocking Fender from being able to get that, right? Like, so he doesn't get those points, because I knew he was searching for that RB2 in his lineup, or maybe a flex 1 in his lineup. And so I would have liked to have tried to block that at the very least, if not played it myself. And so trying to conserve my fab money is maybe a takeaway that I have from this year, and something that I'll look to maybe try to incorporate next year.
2 real quick comments on that. One, you were in a better position to do that this year when you're those teams that are like fighting for wins. You can't have that mindset, obviously, so that makes it a lot harder. And also the second point is we have like 3 or 4 teams in our league that don't spend money, and so your $5 is never gonna, Schaefer had close to $30.
I know.
So if it comes down to those teams, it's almost not even that big of a
Yeah, it's very unique. It's very unique, right? To see two teams like that in the playoffs that have that significant amount of fab money left over. I mean, typically you'd see the guys that are making moves throughout the course of the season to be the ones in the playoffs. So, I agree with that too.
No, but I agree. I mean, I'm always like, I always run out of money way too early, and then I'm like, well,
see, doesn't that worry? Doesn't that bother you?
No,
I mean, I get
it takes away from I don't have the option, so I'm like, I can't do anything. I'm gonna put in these bids and see what happens. But
the other side to that coin, if you will, is that a dollar today is worth more than a dollar tomorrow, right? And so you're going to get more value out of what you spend with that fab money earlier on, possibly if you get the right guy, than waiting and holding on to it till the end of the year and trying to spend it that way. I get that side of the coin too, and that's certainly a good argument, but. Just would have liked to have had, like I said, $5 or something like that at the end of the day.
No, I agree. Go ahead.
Just both completely stole what I was. No, I don't.
I'm sorry.
You guys, no, it's just Grossman, like it's the BJVs and Schaefer's that aren't spending any money. Like dollars, it doesn't mean anything at the end of the year if they're in it. And then just what Geoff said, like what I tried to do this year. What I've done in the past is trying to save my money towards the end of the year. So if there is that player that's on waivers, I can get that guy at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But like, if you spend it earlier, you get that guy all year, potentially. I've said the dollar today is worth more than tomorrow. So earlier in the season, if possible, because of the unique situation of our league where some guys don't spend money.
Yeah, Elijah Mitchell was a great example of getting out.
Yeah, he just didn't stay healthy.
Yep.
No, but he was good. He was good for when he played. My first takeaway, and my takeaways are more sort of the narrative that I thought was going to take place during the season didn't end up taking place. So it's more surprising to me. So it might be super obvious things. The first is that there was not any real impact to the running back usage and scoring that I thought having a 17-game season would bring. I thought with the injury risk that exists already for running backs and adding another game that teams were going to, and we already talked about, like, there's so many committees out there. I thought there was just going to be very few of those running backs that score the big points. But looking at this year compared to last year, on a per game basis, taking out any of the like random running backs, the number one running back scored 22.84 in 2020, and that was 23.54 in 2021. And the same goes for the number 10 running back. That was 14.85 in 2020. It was 15.21 in 2021. Same with 20th running back and 30th running back. So all throughout, the per game scores were higher slightly. Whereas I thought we were going to see just a bunch of 11, 12 point running backs, from after the top three sort of. So it does not appear that the amount of usage is impacted at all really by the fact that there's an extra game. And that's looking all at the, before this week, obviously. So
interesting.
Landon, number 2.
What I want lesson that I learned is trying to, again, with the draft, because I'm not a good drafter, is the prototypical late round league winning running back, not necessarily, but helping your team quite a bit, I guess. And we don't have late rounds because we're an auction draft. So I kind of broke this down to like running backs that were $5 and less part to kind of take the risk on those players. It's not a big monetary risk in the auction draft, and they could end up helping your team quite a bit.
Yep.
And I found 5 of them this year, in my opinion. Obviously, it's all subjective, but pains me to say it, but Geoff drafted 2 of them and ended up actually with 4 of them on his roster for this year. So, but Damian Harris and AJ Dillon, who I drafted AJ Dillon, but dropped him, but that's what I do. Those both those guys were $5. Harris ended up the year as the RB14. RB2. Dylan was RB22, and that's sharing Aaron Jones. So that was quite an impressive season. Melvin Gordon, I think Grossman may have drafted.
He drafted him,
Yeah.
He was $4, ends up the year as the RB19. And then the two that just I want to talk about real briefly was James Conner for $2.
Oh, $2. So that was $1, but yeah.
Fournette.
I wanted James Conner. I bid the $1 for him, and then Geoff got him for the $2. He's $7, and then Fournette, who we've talked about, for $1. As the RB5, and like what, just a lesson, like those James Conner and Fournette, like what they have in common.
Oh, you're taking mine.
Oh, am I? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
No.
So one, they have a couple things in common that I found is one, they have standalone value that you could, in the beginning of the year, you could play them. Like Fournette was part of a committee with Ronald Jones, I guess. And James Conner, I mean, he was the goal line back, so he was already beneficial. But both of them also had a path to possibly take over the backfield. And Conner was a 3-down back with this, and he just needed a Chase Edmonds injury, which he got, to really kind of. And then Fournette, who was great at the end of last year, just needed to prove that he was better than Ronald Jones and Gio Bernard that they brought in, and he did that by week 4. So like those guys at the ends of drafts, like those are the types of guys that you need to be looking for. And, you know, again, more kudos to Gio. Hit your big first round or high picks. Like those players at the end of your team just boost your team to like a whole different level. And a team like Moreau, who had some bad luck with his high-end picks with Saquon and Allen Robinson and Dobbins getting hurt. But when you get Fournette and when you get Debo, like those players, they took him to the playoffs because of who he was able to draft. So those are the type of people that I want to more focus on at the end of the drafts for now.
Can I piggyback my second one since
Of course.
it overlaps? And part of this is this is partly from research that JJ Zacharista, who is
I like him.
Yeah, he's very good. So he has done a bunch of research. So my takeaway is that it's not worth drafting any backup running backs unless it is an ambiguous backfield. The ambiguous backfield is the JJ research. So he's looked at basically the last, 4, 5, 7 years of data. And basically any of those, the breakout, what his research shows is the breakout running back almost always comes from ambiguous backfields where both running backs are picked like outside of the top 3 or 4 rounds. So it's never, and that's how you kind of define whether it's ambiguous, is like there's not a question. There's a question of really who's going to be the starter, and therefore no one's going to take them early on. And that's where the breakout ends up coming. His research showed that it was usually the first pick of those 2. Whoever was picked higher was the one who would most likely break out. But those, like you just pointed out, Conner and Edmonds, there was ambiguity there. Fournette and Jones, there was a huge amount of ambiguity there.
Gordon Williams.
The other one was,
Yeah,
there was some with the Javonte and Gordon. So those are that I think when you look, so the other part of that is like we talk about getting the backups to some of these big running backs, but even then, like it's obviously if you're spending $1, it really ends up being a wasted bench spot that you're talking about. But there were countless number of running backs picked up or drafted: Hines, Pollard, Williams, Drake, Philip Lindsay, Sermon, Gus Edwards, Chuba, Murray, McKissick, all of these players who, were dropped within a week or they were held onto for the entire season and didn't start. Madison was the most successful, and you're still talking about Cook was injured for weeks 3 and 5, where Madison was a beast. And then you didn't play Madison until week 13. So you're still talking about 8 weeks of having to just have someone on your bench.
Mhm.
And that's like the most successful case. So really, unless you're just, at the end of your draft and picking up dollar people, there's not really any reason to pick up a backup running back except if it's an ambiguous backfield.
Dig it.
So yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah, I didn't play AJ Dillon this year. I don't think. I think maybe I put him in my lineup once, and I
think you
made
put
a
him
nice
in
call
once towards the end. Yeah.
Once, but Finner made a nice call about that when he had him on last week, and he talked about how many points I left on my bench with not playing him. But it's tough to do when you have Devontae Adams in your starting lineup too.
Right.
It's one of those things I hate doing. I hate playing both the running back and a wide receiver. I know it's top guy, but yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to mine.
Jeff.
Sure. So one of the takeaways that I have this year is that rookie wide receivers are a thing. And that started last year with Justin Jefferson, right? And we saw a big breakout last year. And this year, obviously, we saw a bunch of names come out with, being the top, Jamar Chase. Then we have Waddle, Jalen Waddle, and then Devontae Smith, sort of, I guess. And then finally we saw late in the season, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah.
Elijah Moore.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. Elijah Moore, another one. Yeah. So definitely something that I'll be targeting going into more so than, I guess, rookie running backs. That's the other part of that question, right? So because I drafted Trey Sermon, that was my lesson. Like maybe I should be focusing more on the rookie wide receiver potential breakout, especially in the NFL, which is a pass heavy league at this point. That they seem to be able to just come out of college and can scheme right into these systems early and often. And I will be looking to target rookie wide receivers next year going forward.
Yeah.
As a result of what I've seen the past 2 years.
Yeah, it has. I mean, they always talk about like the third year wide receiver breakout, but obviously the last 2 years has been just immediate rookie. So good one. Landon, number 3.
Last one for me personally is to we've brought this up a few times.
Is it about the draft?
This is not about the draft. This is in season.
Okay.
This is about me just not being so impulsive.
Patience is a virtue, my friend.
Patience, being more patient. I don't know. We talked about it a few episodes ago about how long we hold on to players for certain times, but I just need to come up with a new system for myself or something, because I've had, just to name a few, I picked up Michael Pittman before the season started, and then I had Elijah Moore, Jalen Waddle, and the Darnell Mooney thing. That's just a fun faster. So I just need to calm it down a little bit, maybe make some less moves. I don't know what it is, but something needs to change for that. And then also just, I have my little Apple Watch and I get Shefty notifications, and it's always sad to turn those off at the end of the season. But sometimes, when that news comes across, like I feel like it's necessary to make a move. That's not always the case. Like what I did in a game-changing move for my season, because this was a lost season for me. But the news was traded to the Saints. I'm like, oh shit, I got to get David Johnson, because I saw something on some. Now's the time for David Johnson. But I dropped AJ Dillon to get, and David Johnson did nothing the rest of the year, obviously. Then AJ Dillon was just. So sometimes no move is the best move, and I just need to calm it down a little bit, be less impulsive.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020.
Look, I did the same thing, though. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I did the same thing, but that was a fourth takeaway that I had, but it wasn't like a full takeaway. But yeah, it was just let some of these players play out, especially before the season even starts. Like, don't go chasing players before the season starts, because I dropped Marquise Brown right after we had our draft before we even saw what we had with the guy, right? So, at least get me to week 1 after my draft. Let's see what happens. If we know a guy's not going to be active or play, okay, then you can make your decisions based off of that. But, Grossman did the same thing. I mean, as far as picking up a guy that I had my eye on, it was during the preseason game where we saw Callaway. I think he had a big game. Marquez Callaway, he had 2 touchdowns. Grossman picked him up. I wanted him, and preseason is a different animal than the actual regular season. We never saw anything out of Callaway during the regular season. So
yeah. And I dropped him.
Tone it down, I guess, is maybe my takeaway to go kind of within that same narrative of what you're talking about, Landon, is, just relax, especially earlier on in the season, and let's just see how things play out a little bit before making any sort of impulse moves.
Yep.
But I'm right there with you.
My last one is really just that going back to the draft, that going late round, and rounds is obviously not totally applicable here, but late round QB is still viable in the 1 QB league. We saw last year, I think the top running backs who were all running backs really just get out ahead of everybody else. And I came into this season wanting a Kyler or someone like that to just differentiate myself from the others. But this season was not the same as last year. Maybe because of injuries, maybe, Watson being out probably had a bit to do with it. But last year, the top 5 QBs had 40 games over 25 points scored. And this year, that number was down to 28 games over 25. And that's just the top 5. So, and the number of QBs who were scoring on a per game basis, scoring, close to that top 5 level was pretty deep. So, at least in the 1 QB league, I think the talent is pretty deep in the league. Jeff, what's your last one?
Yeah, so my last one really quick. It kind of piggybacks onto that a little bit, but it's that streaming quarterbacks and tight ends can win you a fantasy championship. Yeah, so I mean, not having to pay the premium price earlier on in the season in the draft to try to pick up a top tier quarterback is just something that's I as a takeaway from this season, and I will probably look to follow the same methodology moving into next year.
Even if it's 2 QBs?
What if it's
2 QBs is different. That is different. So, yeah, we will definitely be spending money on a premium quarterback, top 10, if you will, moving into next year if we have 2 QBs.
All right, last thing I want to find out. I'm going to give you some players to compare, and I want to find out from you, who would you spend more money on in the draft in 2022? So the first one is Debo or Diggs. Landon, who would you spend more on next year's draft?
I'd go Diggs. I think Lance
is
going to be the quarterback now. He's as good of a quarterback as Jimmy G.
Jeff?
Real life.
I would go Debo. We saw him being utilized in the run game. They get him involved around the goal line. Like, they get him the ball. And we saw where Lance was the quarterback. I know it didn't work out necessarily late in the season, but we saw it earlier on in the season where Lance was the quarterback. I think Debo had like a 38-point game or something, 40-point game in one of those weeks. So, yeah, I mean, he was the guy, and they seem to really like him as far as the coaching staff. They scheme ways to get him the ball.
Yep.
What do you think?
Next one. What's up?
Are you going to answer these or no?
Sure. I'd go Debo. Same rationale. I'd probably want to stay away from both at the price that I think they're going to go for, but Debo for over Diggs. Next one, Cordell Patterson or Allen Robinson. Assume that Allen Robinson goes to like a team that has a decent QB, but nothing crazy.
It's going to go to Jacksonville.
Sure.
Going back home.
Going back to Jacksonville. Going to have Lawrence as his QB and a new coach.
There you go.
I'd go Allen Robinson there.
Ooh, I don't think I would. I would. I'd have to play wait and see with Allen Robinson, so I wouldn't trust it until I see it. And so yeah, I guess give me Cordell Patterson.
I think I'd go Allen Robinson. I can't see Cordell being a thing next year, but we'll see. Taysom Hill or Trey Lance?
Trey Lance.
Taysom.
Ooh, I'm gonna go Trey Lance. Zeke or Aaron Jones?
I think Zeke's done.
He had a
Yeah,
better
he,
year
he
this year.
certainly looks. He did have a good year, but man, that's tough.
I think
No.
split backfields.
Dylan's really like taking over that bat. He's just a freaking battering ram. Like
Yeah, he is.
him and
Power.
Stevenson. I know he is, but I'm just saying, like, I just think AJ Dillon is going to be just the superstar for the future. So I guess give me Zeke.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd go Aaron Jones, I guess, but I don't like either. All right. AJ Brown or Hopkins?
Give me AJ Brown.
Okay.
AJ Brown.
Yeah, I agree. AJ Brown. Brady or Dak? Let's assume Evans is back, but
Godwin.
no other receiver. I mean, Godwin's, they'd have to franchise him a second time.
I don't know.
So let's assume no Godwin.
Is Gronk staying?
Yeah.
All right.
Brady or Dak?
Brady's found the fountain of youth, man. Give me Brady.
He eats baby.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's hard to go against him. I'd go Brady,
Okay.
knowing that Dallas's defense is better now.
Right, that's true. Yep. All right, you guys have convinced me. I'll go Brady. Deontay Johnson or Keenan Allen?
Ooh, Aaron Rodgers is going.
No way. Keenan Allen, man. We don't even know who the quarterback is going to be. Big Ben's gone,
Aaron Rodgers.
right? So you think Aaron Rodgers going to Pittsburgh?
I would love that. Yes.
Fine,
I think he's going to Denver.
I think he's staying in Green Bay.
3 different answers. Yeah, he'd be great in Pittsburgh with
All right, so you're
Najee
going
and
Deontay.
Deontay and Claypool and Juju coming back.
I mean, that would be
lot.
quite the setup.
That'd be a lot of talent there.
That would be. You want a
All right,
piece of
Jeff,
that offense.
are you going Keenan?
Yeah, I said Keenan.
Okay, sorry. I'm gonna probably go Deontay, but that's just my subjective love. All right, the last two are pick. Give me the order, I guess, out of the 3 that I'll give you. The first is Kelsey, Kittle, and Andrews. What's the order in terms of most expensive to least?
Andrews, Kelsey, Kittle.
Okay,
I'd agree.
I think Kittle goes for more.
Then both of them?
I don't know. Andrews, when Lamar was QB, is not that good. Like, he didn't get the type of targets that he got when
He only played for like a few games.
and those were the games that Andrews scored 40 points in.
No, there was a really good game with Lamar.
Yep.
I don't know.
There was.
I mean, I love
It
Andrews,
was-
but
It was right before the injury, too. Like, it was.
Kelsey worries me because he's just getting older.
Yeah.
But yeah. The last one, Mahomes, Kyler, and Herbert.
Yeah, it's.
Really?
I still think Mahomes is going to go. Mahomes, Kyler, Herbert would be my order.
I like Herbert the most out of those 3.
Me too.
And
I'm not-
I'd probably go
yeah, I mean-
Mahomes, Kyler, I guess.
That's
Kyler
what I just think
keeps
our
getting
league will
injured,
go for.
But, well, I'm asking you personally.
Oh, I
what
thought
would
you
you
said
expect?
who would they pay for? Oh, I'm sorry.
Who would you pay more for?
Got it.
Do we have to go through all of these again?
Yeah, come on, Lynn. Try to keep up. Bud.
Does your answer change at all? I think I go Herbert, Kyler, Mahomes.
Yeah, I'm Herbert, Mahomes, Kyler, probably.
Okay.
I look at the NFC, the West, and I feel like they figured out a little bit about, how to maybe play Arizona's offense a little bit. Like there's some of those defenses. You know what I mean?
I just think Kyler's subject. He just gets injured, even when he's.
But he's out there running around. Of course he's going to get injured.
Yeah, but he was not running nearly as much.
No, I know, because he was injured.
No, I mean before he got injured, he wasn't running around nearly as much. But yeah. All right, Landon is not giving us an answer, I think.
Yeah,
so,
I'd go. Yeah, I'd still go Mahomes. I'd go
Okay.
Mahomes, Herbert, Kyler.
Okay, sounds good, guys. This is the end. Jeff,
We did an over/under
congratulations.
thing. Over
What
underperform?
over
No,
under? What?
you said
Yeah, I had like a few players that I was going to call out as
overperform, underperform
underachievers.
Oh, did I? I
for
don't
next
remember
year.
saying.
But
I
okay,
thought I got rid of that. All right, let's go overperform, underperform. I don't think I did this research anymore though, so I'm gonna lean on you guys. Landon, take it away.
all right. For quarterback for next year, I think who's going to overperform is Justin Fields for what he's going to be drafted at.
Okay.
And he's going to get better in his second year, and he's got the rushing upside. Underperform, briefly this episode, but Tom Brady, I just don't. 45 years old. I don't know how much longer. It's hard to bet against the guy, but it's my underperform for next year.
Jeff.
Yeah, the big overperformer for me is I think Joe Burrow. And not only this year, but I think it's only going to continue to increase. I think there's something crazy out there that he threw into more contested coverages than any other QB and had a better completion at it too.
So you think he's going to overperform?
Yeah,
That
I'm
he did
saying he's gonna-
overperform, or he's going to overperform?
I think he's still going to overperform. I think he's going to
Okay.
go somewhere around, draft position seven or eight, something like that. When you look at our
Okay.
league, and I think he's going to finish top 3.
And then who's your underperformer?
So the underperformer for me going into next year is probably going to. I didn't look at this. I was looking at this year specifically. But I would say Trey Lance is going to be an underperformer.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna give just random answers because I didn't do the research that I asked you guys to do.
I thought you had sent that in.
No, I did. It was just a lot has happened in the last few days, so I've completely.
I took it
blanked
a different direction, so I apologize. But go
So
on.
I was initially asking for next year. Who do you think is going to overperform expectations versus underperform? Like Debo gets drafted as a top 3 receiver, but he ends up number 20 is what I was thinking. Yeah. I think Trey Lance is going to overperform only based on running, and then underperform. I agree on the Brady, but I don't. He's something else. All right, running back.
I guess can I take I want to change my underperformer.
Sure.
And that'll be Jalen Hurts. So, like we obviously saw a lot of upside there with his running potential and just able to run the ball in the end zone this year. But, it's going to regress. He can't just continue to rely on that, and the defense recognize that. There probably might even be a coaching change in Philadelphia. Who knows? So I would probably say that he's going to be the one that gets drafted most highly based off of the points that we saw him put up, but underperforms. Doesn't continue to keep that up. I don't think.
Yep. Landon, who are your running back? Who's going to be an overperformer next year, and who's going to be an underperformer?
Running back for overperform next year for where he's going to be drafted. I think McCaffrey. I just think he's going to be drafted a little because of what's happened the past 2 years. And if you can get him as the RB, who knows? Whatever. 7 or 8 as far as price goes. And if he stays, if Carolina scales his work down a little bit and can able to stay healthy, I think you can get a very good value there for McCaffrey. It'd just be very interesting to see what he's going to go for. And underperforming, I think I brought it up. I brought it up. I think Zeke is I think he's coast. So I think Pollard's going to play a bigger role, and Zeke has that. Not going to be paying for that next year.
Yep. Jeff, I know you took it a different way, but.
Yeah, no. So I think an overperformer for next year is definitely going to be Ramondre Stevenson.
Okay. You think Harris is gone?
I don't know what's going to happen to Harris, but I just think Stevenson, they've seen a lot out of him. They like him a lot. I mean, I don't think they're going to get rid of Harris because he's in like the second year of his deal, right? So, he's still fairly young, but man, he looks phenomenal out there. I mean, he's a beast. So I think he's definitely going to be an overperformer. And then an underperformer running back position, I would have to say it's probably going to be
Yeah, it's hard.
Chris Carson, if he's even back, right? I mean, I guess another overachiever might be Penny in that aspect. Like he's clearly kind of earned his spot as long as he continues to stay healthy. He looked phenomenal this late in the season. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough as far as an underachiever goes, though. Where's Melvin Gordon land?
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. This is still subjective, so I think Jonathan Taylor will underperform, but only because he's going to go 1, and he'll still be in a top 5, but I don't see him scoring as many touchdowns next year. And then an overperformer, I'll go with Najee. I think he just gets, if that line gets better, he'll just be a beast. Receiver.
Okay, let me go on this one. I think I got this. All right.
All right.
Overachiever. All right. For going to be next year is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Okay.
Okay. Underachiever DK Metcalf.
Oh, so you just think he's going to continue sliding?
I think, yeah. I don't think Wilson's coming back. So who's going to be the quarterback is going to be a big question. It's just too little, too late in the season this year. Didn't see the mesh this year. So I'm going to go the opposite direction with him.
Okay. Len?
I actually, for underperform for wide receivers, I went with St. Brown. I think. I
Where do you think he's going to be drafted, though?
Right. That's the thing is.
I think people are going to spend like $5 on him. You see that?
Because for what I missed it. Damn it.
Sorry,
No, I think he's going to go for more just because for what he's done at the end of the year. And to me, because I was personally bitten by it, it has a very Brandon Ayuk feel to the situation where there wasn't TJ Hawkinson involved at all for this stretch. And DeAndre Swift, even though he was back this past week and did nothing, wasn't there either. So I think there's going to be, I don't think he's going to go for a ton of money, but I think there's going to be a little bit of a letdown there. And then just overperform next year. I have I think to kind of piggyback what Geoff said is Hurts is going to maybe rush a little bit less, maybe get better as a passer, which he has gotten a little bit better. Smith is, he's clearly the number 1 receiver there, and in his second year, he should get better, overperform.
Okay. Underperform, I think, is going to be Debo, even though I like him a lot. I think with Trey Lance, he's just not going to hit the ceiling that he has this year. Overperform, I think, is going to be Lockett, because I think Russell Wilson's going to leave, and people are going to assume that receiving core is dead. And I think if Metcalf isn't the TD target hog that he has been with Wilson, that Lockett proves to be more valuable than people think coming in.
Somebody's got to catch the football. Yeah. Same thing that happened with Brandon Cooks this year. Everybody thought Houston was dead, which they pretty much were. But, you look at Brandon Cooks, and he turned out a pretty good fantasy.
Yeah, and all those weeks that Metcalf was struggling with Wilson and even the couple weeks before Wilson came back, Lockett was fine. He was putting up not monster numbers, but good numbers. So we'll see. Guys, this has been real fun. I'm excited.
Good first season, boys.
Yeah, we will be back around, I don't know, draft time or something like that. We'll start talking Dynasty a little bit.
Way to host Grossman, by the way.
Very nice. Good job.
Guys,
Landon, if you can be a little bit better prepared next year, we'll work on that.
Landon is a beast. And Jeff, you've done well as well, giving us the cornerback analysis.
I try my best.
That's your thing.
I gotta really sharpen up on that for next year. That's my goal.
But this has been a lot of fun. And for any of you guys who are watching still, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next year.
Appreciate your loyal support. Peace.
Thank you, all the fans.